Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time. Happy Labor Day. We're doing a live show today. We haven't done one of these call-in shows for quite some time, probably 4 or 5 weeks. If you would like to ask a question, just call the number below, 361-733-3332, and we'll take your call. I want to make this episode specifically for the fact that it is now September. September, October, November, and December, the last 4 months of the year, we are still less than 70% of the way through the year, which means right now, if you quit and you check out, you will get a C- on the year 2022. The last 4 months of the year are the most profitable for the home improvement industry. I don't care if you're in lawn care, landscaping, cleaning, in historically, the last 4 months of the year are when you make all of the profits for your business. So do not check out right now. This is not the time to coast until the end of the year. Summer's over, kids are back in school. It's very easy to fall back into the let's just take it easy. Let's coast to the end of the year. Let's put things on cruise control. This is the time, if you're going to take advantage of 2022 and make profit, the next 4 months is when you accelerate into the end of the year. So I highly recommend you really start to look at whether your goals are for 2023. Like, that's the whole next year. I don't even think about it. Just got through summer or made it through spring rush, and now I'm just trying to get settled down. Yes, you can settle down. You can coast until the end of the year, and you can have an average remainder of the rest of the year. However, if you're going to have an extraordinary 2023, it's going to come down to how you execute in the next 4 months. Right now, you have a solid team. You're not trying to build a new team like you were in Spring Rush. You don't have a whole bunch of brand new customers like you did in the Spring Rush. The weather is decent. Things are really looking good, and you're able to make a really good profitable route. You're able to accurately predict jobs. You have a good crew on staff. Why in the world would you be thinking about coasting right now or laying 1 or 2 people off? This is the time to accelerate when all of your competition is not hiring, when all of your competition is not advertising. This is the time to go all in on your business. All right. So that's why I'm making this video today. If you have a question, I would love to answer that. If you call the number below, 361-733-3332, going to be taking your calls live today. Got a question here from Kevin. What should a 500K revenue working GM focus on the most? I think right now the big thing is making sure that your general manager, again, Kevin's talking about, Gus, we talk about one of the stages of growth that we have is a working GM. That is when you as the owner are no longer in the field, but you have a working GM, a general manager that's still in the field working 3 to 4 days a week. What you should be focused on as an owner is that manager ready to roll? Are they trained up? Do they have all the estimate experience? Do they have everything that they need to be able to be out of the field and in the field and operate effectively? What that means is potentially getting them a Chromebook for their trucks. That way they can manage the crews while they're out in the field. A cheap one, it's like very hardy, doesn't have a glass screen, all plastic. The thing could be dropped and ran over by a truck and it'd just be fine. Making sure that they are going to be efficient doing those estimates while they're out in the field, as well as managing the crew while they're still out in the field. Would you discourage raising prices this time of year if jobs are profitable, but at some point in the near future, you need to raise them? Really comes down to whether or not you've grown to capacity. This is something we talk a lot about, and that is, have you grown to the point where you need more trucks and equipment? If you've grown to the point and you're continuing to grow and you still need another truck or you need to hire more people, probably a good time right now to raise your prices. However, if this is the kind of you're going into your fall season, you get a bit of a rush of customers right now, and you don't use your truck for 3 days out of the week, or a bunch of your equipment just stays sitting around there doing nothing because you don't need it. This is a good time to grow into capacity, go to the point where you don't need where your asset utilization is much higher and all of your crews are out being mobilized every single day. That would be my number one recommendation. Again, this happens every single time. If you want to take a call, 361-733-3332. It always happens at the end of this. I have to turn everyone off that's in the waiting room. So if you have a question, please call in. It's much more exciting than me just reading the questions. Just getting started on my own. Snow is going to get crazy here about November, going from about 15 to 25 houses for snow. Crazy is just starting. Good morning. Cody. Should I use door hangers for bush trimming and fall cleanup separately, or should I put them together, maybe in a flyer instead? Um, for example, on lawncaremedia.com, we have fall cleanups, and part of fall cleanups is bush trimming. The reason is because if you're doing a fall cleanup, you can get them for bush trimming, leaf cleanup, and bed maintenance, for example. And so you can kind of bundle those services up. We have the property cleanup instant quote, where actually when you're doing door hangers, you actually can check off what services you're giving the quote for and then put a price. So I highly recommend the instant quote door hangers on lawncaremedia.com. First caller is coming from Marysville, California, area code 530. Let's make sure this thing is working today. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. I think everyone else can hear you. Just let me make sure that I have everything rolling, because last time I was on here, no one could hear you. Okay, I think you're good. Go for it.
So, my name's Carter. I'm from Yuba City. It's about an hour north of Sacramento. Um, Getting things set up, I want to be able to really grow this spring. When you guys talk about systems, what exactly does that mean? Like, can you give an example of a system and how it would work so that way I can get things set up? I think I have an idea of it, but I'm not exactly sure of what exactly it is.
So, what's your interpretation of a system right now? And then I'll give you my answer.
Basically, like like a piece of paper that has a breakdown of this is how you do this. So like it could say, when you pull up to the property, this is what you look for. This is how you weed eat. This is how you mow. This is the order you do it. Is that basically what you're talking about, or is it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
a
It
lot
seems
of
too simple.
Yeah,
It,
totally. A lot of times
I
people think that you got to write things down. And definitely most systems you can write down. Here's the thing. Starting your car is a system. Here's the system for some cars. Push a button. For other cars, it is turn a key. For others, it is put the key inside of a certain slot. For others, it is push the button on the remote. Every single car has a system for starting it. Whether or not you write it down is inconsequential. I think everyone has monetized the creation of systems inside of the business ecosystem because they know they can sell you something that's written down and then call it you are systematizing your business. All there needs to be is a system is simply something in my mind that is done every single time and has the same result every single time. If you push this button, your car starts. If you push this button, your car unlocks. Like there is a very clear start and an end result of doing that action. And so when you create an estimate, for example, there needs to be a very clear, defined way of creating the estimate. I put my notes here. I then am going to copy and paste that into this. This is the format I'm going to use every single time. And this is the delivery mechanism, whether it be email or SMS or whatever it might be. And it's done the same way every single time. And when you get out of the systems is when you start to create variation. Oh, well, now today I'm not going to push the button to start the ignition. I'm going to crawl underneath and try to do it manually underneath the car and push the button and when jerry rig the wiring. That is when you start getting out of the system and creating issues. And so I really believe a system is simply something that's followed every single time, has predictable inputs and outputs. What are the inputs? The estimate notes, the time in which you're going to do them, where you're going to put them inside the software, the outputs, what the formatting looks like, what the pricing looks like to the customer. And we're just talking right now about the system of creating an estimate. There's one for creating an invoicing, your pricing, your billing, the way that you collect card information. All these systems are simply predictable inputs with predictable outputs that happen every single time the same way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that's way simpler than I thought because I think I was overcomplicating it a lot.
Yeah, and total
So,
and in this industry,
oh,
most people complicate because they can sell you something. It's like, I'm gonna give you the 58-step process for doing a sale for your lawn care business. I'm gonna sell it to you for $100. It's like, look, I really don't care how you do your estimate. It's that you follow the same pattern every single time, because having a good system, you can only improve your system if you have a system, and then you slowly incrementally start manipulating it, right? Like the timing, where you put the estimate notes, what your pricing is, your pricing matrix. You can only tweak it and make it better if you follow it the same way every single time. And what happens is some people will be like, well, sometimes I take the estimate in person. Sometimes I will write it down on a piece of paper in my truck. Sometimes I'll do it verbally and then I'll put it in after they've accepted the quote. I'll put it into the CRM. Sometimes I don't put it in the CRM. I just put the job on the schedule. That's when you're out of the systems, and that's when you do not have a system. But having a system is simply a predictable way of doing the exact same thing every single time. And only once you create the system can you actually start to tweak it and make it better. You cannot improve something that is every single time different. And every single time you do an estimate, every single time you do an invoice, every single time you do a job, it looks different inside of your CRM. Every single time your crew looks at the job, it looks different. The job notes look different. They're formatted differently every single time. You cannot improve on something that is consistently changing every single time you use it inside your business.
Okay. Awesome. So one more question if you got time.
Mm-hmm.
I have looked into doing you guys franchise. I've had a couple meetings with Lee. What would you say is the biggest advantage to the franchise over doing it my own?
It really comes down to what you just brought up, right? Like when you come to training, we're gonna tell you, here are the systems. We've tried this 1,000 times. Here's what we recommend you do every single time, and you're gonna immediately have the system to follow. That's the advantage of joining any franchise, is the fact that you've hoped they've done it hundreds, if not thousands of times, and they're gonna tell you, do it this way. And you should do it that way until you find a better way to do it. But you're going to have that initial system down, so that way you don't have to go do it 1,000 times and create it and tweak it and make adjustments to it. It should already be refined to the point where it's going to be successful. And you avoid the hopefully year, 2, 3 years of fiddling around with the system and perfecting it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. All right, brother. You have a good one. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Take care. All right, next caller is from, I think it's Locust, North Carolina. Area code is 704. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Mike. How's it going? This is Phil.
Good. What's up?
I just had a question. I'm about 8 months in, and I know my goal is to be as professional as possible. I just was wondering, is there a certain time I'm supposed to get insurance or like a number of customers I should have? I know I need it, but I'm just trying to get the pros and cons of when I should get it.
Yeah, I would get insurance as quickly as you possibly can. It's relatively cheap when you're first getting started. It's probably less than $50 a month. And so the liability of $600, $700 a month to get your liability insurance at your size is worth it. That's one property cleanup. That's 1 day's worth of work, just so you know that you have the the security and the liability protection. So if you send a rock into a little kid's eyeball when they're walking by your lawn care job, and trust me, it happens, that you're not going to get your business completely put over the coals because of that.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at Next and I was doing all the numbers, and I thought it would be a good idea, but I wanted for professional opinion.
Yeah, most general liability policies for if you're just getting started is literally $50 to $60 a month. If you're by yourself just doing lawn care, if you start doing landscaping projects, if you start doing trimming trees above the gutter height, things like that, you can start adding to that. But $50, $60 if you're just doing lawn care, and I definitely recommend it from day one.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
My pleasure. Have a great day, Philip. All right, next question is coming from area code 559. I think it's from California. Go ahead.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. So my question came from today being Labor Day, and I pretty much kind of I'm thinking about how we would go about getting some of the holidays off, because for my business, I charge a lot of accounts just per month, not per mold. So do you think do you think it's acceptable to kind of take the day off for the major holidays if it falls on a weekday and still charge the client?
Yeah, I would just shift it forward, right? So you could just say, okay, if on a week where there's a holiday, you're gonna take that day off, and then you're just gonna make sure that there's enough hours. You do less projects in that week, so that way you're able to move everything off 24 hours, move it off one day in terms of the work that is recurring, right? So if you got all your mows and today's Monday and you usually mow them on Monday, just do them tomorrow. But in shifting everyone one day, you're gonna have to make sure that there is less budget hours on the schedule for projects, right? So, let's say you have 50 lawns and typically you do 50 lawns and 2 projects. On this week, you might skip the 2 projects and just do the 50 lawns, but everything gets moved off one day. And typically, we don't even tell customers if we're going to do that because they just get it. When we sell a mowing job, and I'd recommend you do for your recurring schedule, when you give someone a day that you come, tell them a specific day, but plus or negative one day, and that gives you some leeway when it comes to holidays, so you can take the day off and then they're still on their schedule based upon plus or negative one day for scheduling and weather purposes.
Got to. All right. Perfect.
Cool. All right, brother. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Next caller is coming from area code 551 Vantage Landscape, I believe. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, Mike? How you doing?
Good. What can I do for you?
All right, so I just want to give you a little backstory before my question, real quick. So it's me and another guy. We're making for the past 2 years 150 to 175, and I feel that I'm at capacity, right? Like I need another truck. I need another guy that can get in that truck or whatever, to move forward. So I'm having trouble actually getting the capital and being able to grow this thing. The problem's not leads; it's just capital. Because I believe the issue is me having too many personal expenses, but I don't know how I can cut that out, or I really just don't know what else to do right now without capital.
Well, do
you have any recommendation?
Are you using the 2 trucks basically every single day then?
I only have 1 truck. It's me and another guy, and that's it. Yeah, we use asset utilization is to the max.
Yep. So why don't you go ahead and raise your prices? If leads is not the issue, why not go ahead and raise your prices so that you increase your margins and can stack money for the next 4 months?
Okay, yeah, I just raised my prices in the beginning of the season. We're at $70 a man hour, and for my area in New Jersey, I think that's pretty top notch. So I don't know. I'm at a 50% close ratio or 56. So I don't know if that's gonna fly.
Yeah, well, the thing is, 56%. I already know it's going to, just depending on how much you raise it, right? Like I think if you went from 70 to 85, you'd probably drop down to about a 40% close ratio. Which again, if really what you said is true, and that is that you're not having any issue with leads, that's the thing to do if you're going to try to stack cash away, right? If you do that for the next 4 months, and maybe you only have 45% close ratio, but now you're going to have an extra several $1,000s going in next spring rush to deploy against a truck. And, if you needed to get a loan to get another truck, I would do that. But if you're so skinny right now in terms of financially to where getting another truck is that damaging, I would say you need to raise your prices anyways. And in New Jersey, $70 an hour, I know it sounds like you might be, but you need to raise your prices. If you are at the point where you have max capacity on 1 truck and you can't afford a second truck and you're making 170 to 180 a year on 1 truck, you need to raise your prices. And part of that is because you have 2 owners. So you have 2 different, 2 families, two different people that you're trying to, suffice inside of the company. That's expensive, right? So part of your issue right now is the fact that there's 2 owners. If you had just an employee right now, you'd probably be making quite a bit of cash and profit, but because you're splitting your profits in half with another owner, that's making the business pretty skinny. And when you have 2 owners, you kind of need to scale simply for the fact that you're splitting the profits. And so I would recommend.
Okay, I'm so sorry to cut you off.
Yep.
I don't. Maybe I am mumbled or whatever, but I don't have another owner. It's just me and another employee.
Oh, good. Okay, so you're saying 170, 180. You have 1 employee. What do you pay him per hour?
17. Now I follow the 25% that you say.
Perfect. Yeah. So why do you think? Let me just ask last question. Why do you think you don't have enough profit right now? Because at 180, if he works full time, you're looking at less than 35, 40,000 a year. That's 130, 140. You're going to have a really low overhead. Like you should theoretically be pulling like 80 to 90 grand a year.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing. I think I pull out too much cash.
I don't mean
But I
pull
don't
out.
know where I
Pulling
can
out
cut that
cash is
off.
fine. I mean, like when you look at your own personal tax return, you should be making 80 to 90,000 adjusted gross income. Like is there other expenses like loans or debts that you have?
Yeah, I mean the truck I'm paying, and then I do have an office manager though.
That'll
I
kill
think
you.
that that
That's
is
what
a
it
problem.
is. Yep.
I know.
Because you're too small to have
Okay.
you're too small to have an office manager. You're literally taking, like when I said
Yeah.
about the other owner, literally that money that would typically go to another owner is now literally going to an office manager. And is that person full-time, part-time?
Yeah.
What's their schedule?
Yeah, so they make $720 a week. You know, that's it. I mean, 40 hours.
That's half
18.
your profit. Yeah, that's half your profit right there, right? So
yeah, right.
What I would recommend doing is trying to figure out systems to where at your size you cannot afford a full-time office manager. You need to get above 350, 400 before you start thinking about a full-time office manager. It's just too much overhead.
Yeah.
What I would recommend doing is trying to systematize things like putting clients into your profile, in the profile, getting the notes correct, and try to take on that yourself. And if that means you out in the field with a computer, like a laptop, putting in the job notes or whatever, that's fine. But you've got to absorb that $720 needs to go into your pocket right now, because if you do that for 2 months, you'll have enough to buy another truck.
Right. Yeah, that's a good answer, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. You have a good one. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, like we talk about going the offensive in the next 4 months. The other side of the equation, every dollar you can save right now is a dollar you can deploy against next spring rush and just make so much more damage in the business. All right, next question is 215. Thank you, everyone in the call queue. I'll just try to keep pounding through these. 215, you're on the show. Welcome.
Hey, Mike, this is Gerhard from Sustainable Land Solutions. How are you?
Good. How you doing? What's up?
Very well. Okay, so I am all electric. I have a big focus on natives and everything. So second year in, electric is expensive. Takes a little bit longer to scale. Next year, I'm looking to hire my first full-timer, pretty much to do the recurring work, the mowing. Here's my biggest thing. I'm going to be 31 on Thursday, and I'm starting to get burnt out from being in this industry for a while. And going into next year, I'm looking for someone to take care of the recurring. Well, I mainly focus on the installs, the bigger ticket things. So I'm not always in the field, but I do have my focus is to build a business. So
how many employees do you have right now?
Job.
I missed that part. I apologize.
It's just me. I'm solo. I get people for bigger jobs, like one-off things.
Mm-hmm.
But I am getting burnt out. And the thing is, electric is a little bit higher of a cost barrier. I get that. But doing everything is a lot on me. And I'm looking to hire someone to do the recurring so that there's always money to pay them. And then pretty much next year, focus on the one-off bigger ticket. So I'm not always in the field and can handle all of my expenses. Do you think that would set kind of low morale if I have someone working more than me, being the owner?
I think there's a false assumption here. Give me a second. So, why do you think that it'll be less work if you're doing big projects versus out in the field mowing?
So if I do, 3 installs in a week,
mm-hmm.
that would be 3 days, as opposed to someone else in the field working full time, 5 days a week or 40 hours, however that, plays out throughout the week. Whereas I'm working, 24 or so. But on the other end, I'm doing all the office, all the estimates, all the admin work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think this really comes down to something that I've talked about a lot, and that is what type of stress do you want, right? Right now, you've been in physical stress for a very long time because you're in that 0 to 200,000 in annual revenue level, right? And so you have a lot of physical stress. You're out in the
Yeah.
field working a lot. And so what everyone does in the stage, just be careful of this. I'm not saying this is the right or wrong answer. I'm just saying that I see this all the time. People are like, oh, I'm physically stressed. I need to grow so that way I can get out of physical stress. So they get past 200,000 annual revenue. They get a couple employees. They get to 250, 300, 400,000 annual revenue. And what they start to realize is the physical stress becomes financial stress because I'm not making a single dollar more at 400,000 in annual revenue than they were 150 and 160,000 annual revenue when they're working by themselves. So the physical stress just becomes financial stress. And those 3 days that you're working out in the field become 6 and 7 days because you're trying to make up for the massive amount more overhead you have in having more employees. And so I would just be very deliberate about the fact of, do you actually want that stress? It's not Stress is not going to get less. You're not going to get burnt out less by growing your business. I can guarantee you that. It's simply going to transfer the type of stress from being physical stress, which is on your body, versus your pocketbook. And the only way that you can somewhat alleviate that is before you do that, raise your prices significantly so that there's less financial pressure. But there's going to be more pressure and stress, just not in the physical side if you're going to go down that route.
That's that feels comfortable with me. I'm already at 75 per man hour, and looking to raise, like you're saying, all the way 100, 125. If it's an install, that's highly skilled work as opposed to mowing. But I'm right now feeling both because, like I said, the electric is a higher cost of entry. So there is, I'm like I said, I'm in my second year and I'm still a solo operator. So it's takes a little bit more financial to build, and I'm fine with that stress. But having both the physical and the financial is breaking my body down, I feel like.
So I would recommend
I would be fine.
Try to get one employee with you in the truck, right? So right now, let's say you have 50 hours worth of work out in the field. Try to get an employee so that brings it down to like 35. You can put a little bit more on the schedule because 35 plus 35 is now 70. So you're going to get another 20 budget hours worth of work on the schedule. And they're going to be with you in the truck. That's going to be done very efficiently and profitably because you don't need to go buy another truck, buy more equipment. I highly would recommend do not diversify into other services like landscaping in order to try to get away from the harder work. That is a fallacy that it's going to be somehow easier doing 3 days worth of projects because this is what happens. Those 3 projects that you have on the schedule, you have a bad day, a tire pops, bad weather, and now that 1 day project becomes a 3 day project and you're butting up against the next project. You're going to get behind. The materials don't get delivered correctly. All this stuff happens, right? So don't think that adding in projects is going to somehow solve this issue. I would recommend, if you're working a ton of hours, get an employee inside the truck, increase your capacity by, say, from 50 budget hours a week to 70, get an employee with you inside of the truck now to be able to help with that. And it's going to be very profitable because you don't need another truck. You don't need more equipment. You don't have to diversify services and add more liability and more equipment. You don't have to do any of that. I would just focus right now that switching services has nothing to do with capacity, has nothing to do with pricing, has nothing to do with the finances. I would stick with what you're doing, add more, but put an employee inside your truck so you can make more profit per day, but work less. But adding more services right now is the wrong move. You're going to get that is like the recipe for more stress.
I do keep it very simple. Mowing maintenance, garden installs, and then snow. That's a whole other season. But I do keep it very simple. And even the garden installs are very, very simple. They're just typically native pollinator gardens.
Yeah, so I would just keep the employee in with you.
More than 1 day.
You would throw a couple projects on. By adding an employee, you'll get the mowing done maybe in 3 days now. You'll have a couple days to get a couple projects done, and that can be money in your pocket. right? But I definitely wouldn't try splitting the two of you up. Like, okay, they're gonna go do the mowing. I'm gonna get another truck and go do projects. I think that's gonna really compress your margins by getting a second vehicle. You're gonna double your liability insurance. You're gonna double your auto insurance. You're gonna have now more storage space required. Like all of that's gonna add more cost to the business. So I'd just throw an employee in with you, get your mowing done in half the amount of time, and then throw a couple projects on the schedule.
All right, so that leads me to my next question. Where's the best dollar spent in advertising to get marketing, to get more hours on the schedule? I'm doing Facebook and Instagram, and I'm not seeing much results.
Upselling your existing customers. It sounds like you have quite a few customers. I'd be looking at every single one of their properties in there and trying to upsell them on something. And I'd also be emailing all of them once a month with a service that you're trying to pitch. If you do that alone, you'll get enough just to fill your schedule.
All right. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Take care. Next caller is coming from 732. It says Brendan. 732, you're on. Thanks for coming in.
I'm Mike. I'm a newer viewer, and I'm not really in your business. I'm more of a starting entrepreneur, I would say. My question to you is, when you started Augusta, who did you start with?
Say it again. Maybe I don't know if you're on a Bluetooth, but maybe just if you can talk a little clearer into the mic. It's a little bit hard to hear you.
This better?
That's much better. Thank you.
Sorry. So when you started Augusta, who were you with? Like, how did you? I know you were talking about how you mowed lawns when you were younger, but like when you started the business, like who were you? Who was your like team?
What do you mean my team? Like it was just me at the time when I first got started. You mean like my mentor,
Okay.
stuff like that?
Well, no. I was just more so. I'm really hesitant on starting because I just am terrified of being alone, I guess.
Mhm.
And my really question is like, how would you find your team members, like people that you rely on now?
Mhm.
Like where did you find them, or like any advice on that?
Yeah, like when you first get started, you don't need a team. I understand the sense of loneliness in having to do it all by yourself. But honestly, like if you just scale back a company, even the size of Augusta, all the way back to a very small, I'd just have to wear more hats and do more things. But the business is so small, you can do it all yourself, right? And so you might not be the best at all of those things, but I understand the loneliness side. I understand going, especially if you've been an employee and you have 10, 15, 20 coworkers and you have more of a community and you're used to doing like one task all day long. I understand that sense of loneliness or being alone, but you do not need a team when you're first getting started. That is usually a recipe for spending way too much money up front to try to create some sort of a culture or like multiple team members when the business can't sustain that financially. So don't feel like you need someone or need a team up front. It's not going to be possible. I didn't have an employee for the first year and a half. I didn't have an office manager for the first 3 or 4 years. I was in the field for the first 4 or 5 years. So don't feel like you need that from day one, especially if you don't have the capital to burn through while you prematurely hire a team and get a whole bunch of infrastructure built out. Or what business are you starting?
That's a complicated question because I haven't decided yet.
Got it.
But something more of like something to complement the Be Real discussing mental health.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing near perfect or refined.
Yeah.
It's
So I think a lot of times when people are unclear on what they're going to do in business, they think that, okay, I'll work it backwards. And that is, I'll build the team and then whatever we're going to do is going to come and like the team will kind of determine. That works really well in venture capital and tech world, right? Where they're like, just get a great founding team together and like bet on the jockey, not so much the horse. When it comes to small business and bootstrapping and home improvement and small amounts of capital, you just need to get started. You just need to start, and it might take you 2 years to try 10 different things, and you'll come upon something. Now, if it's mental health that you're trying to work on, that is the number one thing you can do right now is start creating content around what you believe in when it comes to mental health and creating awareness around it. Because the media, you'll attract an audience, and the audience will determine what they're willing to pay for if you want to create a business out of it, or they'll tell you what they're interested in if you want to create more awareness around something. So you just need to get started. Do not worry about the team. The team thing only works in a world where there's venture capital and there's money to throw into this. Like, let's create this great team and have like 8 different an org chart and like all the different positions and titles and all the rest of it, and then we'll figure out what we want to do. Like that's like old news. That is what has been portrayed on the movies and Entrepreneur Magazine and Fast Company. It's just a bunch of garbage when it comes to actually building a real business.
So you're kind of saying that like appeal to people, and the people you find through your media campaigns will kind of decide the product.
Exactly. Start just creating content around mental health, and maybe as a product, like whether it be online courses or consulting or whatever you feel like you're inclined to do in terms of monetization. But don't feel like you need to figure it all, or you need to hire a team and get people together before figuring out what you want to do. Because I promise you, regardless of whether you have a team or you're by yourself, it's going to change 10 times. And so just focus on doing, and whether that be creating the products or whether that be creating the content and creating a community, the products will come later on. Don't worry about that stuff. Just get started, whether it be on the content side or the product side, and then start iterating. The only thing you need to focus on right now when you're small in your business is iterations. How many times can you do something and mess up on it so that we can figure out what works and what doesn't? Don't be paralyzed by the fact that you're by yourself or you're alone or there's not other people in the team. Just get started.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You got it, brother. Take care. Next caller is coming from 330's area code. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good. What's up?
Hey, I started my lawn care company when I was 20 years old. That was 2 years ago. I'm 22 now. I started off with 15, 20 clients, I'd say, and now this year I'm up to 50. I'm by myself. I did have quite a few employees, but I quickly realized I didn't need them at all. I didn't know if I could handle the 50 this year, but I'm pretty sure if I got about 65, 70, I could do them all by myself this year.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm kind of thinking I could get about 200 next year, 200 plus if I do hire 1 or 2 people in the truck, come weed whack with me, maybe get a secondary mower, a bigger trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's feasible to do then?
All of it sounded good until I heard bigger trailer and bigger truck.
Yeah.
I think the first step would be like, it sounded like you were burned a little bit by employees, and I understand that when you're stressed, when you're that small, maybe you got them prematurely. I think what I would recommend is get 1 employee inside your truck. That will get you from 50 to at least 80 or 90 that you can handle with just the 1 truck, right? If you do that, you'll be ultra efficient and profitable, and since you'll be having eyes on them all day long because you're working with them, it'll be a whole lot less stress in terms of management. And then see how you do at that level before you start going to a second truck, more equipment, another couple employees. Like, that's a whole nother level. And you'll need to get that if you're going to get to 200. But don't think I need to go from 50 to 200. Think let's go from 50 to 90 and then test the waters out there with 1 employee that's working with you all day long.
Okay, I see. Now, I do have one more question. I'm doing like gutter cleaning and leaf removal this year, and I don't have like a big truck with like a leaf back on it. So I was wondering, because I did some last year, a couple pretty big houses and stuff. I don't know if I should like chop the leaves up with my mower and bag them, or should I throw everything onto a tarp and then take it to my dump site, or like, what do you think I should do about that?
What time of year do you start doing fall cleanups?
Right about now. It would start now until the end of October.
When do you
maybe November?
When do you stop mowing lawns?
Probably within the end of this month.
Okay. So the thing to balance out here, and the reason I asked that is because a lot of times people are thinking like, oh, I need to get a big leaf vac. I need to really focus on fall cleanups, and their mowing season is through that whole time. They're already busy enough. It's like, why would you focus so much on buying more equipment things when you're already busy as it is without that extra service? So it sounds though like, if you're go ahead.
Well, most of my clients, about 80% of them are already turning bi-weekly, tri-weekly to monthly as of right now.
Got it. So they're already slowing down, and so okay, got it. So you are slowing down. So the thing is,
Yeah.
how many out of the 50 customers that you do have, how many fall cleanups are there? Like 20 of them, you think, that you're doing fall cleanups for?
Yeah, about that. And then I do have like Facebook and Instagram marketing and stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I'll get a lot more. And then I put lawn signs out, business cards everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what I'm most scared about, honestly, is when someone gets a leaf vac and they use it for 1 or 2 months and then just sits there for the other 10 months. That hurts, right? Like,
Yeah.
because the only reason that you'd buy a leaf vac is if you're going to actually make enough money to cover the cost of it because of its efficiency. And the only reason I would buy a leaf vac is if you are so crazy busy and you're turning work away because you can't get to it all, then you'd go buy a leaf vac. And I'd start with one, you get a good one, it'll be 4, 5, 6 grand, whatever you're going to spend for it. But it's going to allow you to get an extra 3 fall cleanups done a week. Well, that's 3 times 400. That's $1,200 a week. That's $4,800 a month. Do that for 2 or 3 months. $10,000, $12,000. You just paid the thing off in the first few months. That makes a lot of sense to me. But you got to remember that a piece of equipment like a leaf vac is sitting for 8, 9, 10 months out of the year. It better be pumping a lot of profit. So if you are at capacity, is the only way you should be getting a leaf vac. If you can get an employee that's really cheap and work alongside of you and get an extra 4 or 5 leaf cleanups done in a week, I would stick with that first because it's a variable cost. And you don't have to go fork out 5, 6, 7 grand for this leaf vac. You're going to pay a little bit of money, get to the next few months, and generate all that same profit. So I'd rather go with a variable expense at first, unless you are at capacity and you know that by getting that leaf vac is the only way for you to increase that capacity. Because I'm mostly concerned about December, January, and the next 8 months after that when you're not using the leaf vac and it's sitting there doing absolutely nothing. And now you're going to next spring rush when you should be spending money on marketing and growing that on mowing, but you don't have the capital because you spent it all on a leaf vac that you didn't use hardly.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, just bagging them up right now, that's not too terribly hard.
Yeah, like if you, I would say get an employee, even just help you out a few days a week with leaf cleanups. And if you can fill your schedule and their schedule with leaf cleanups, and you're still like turning work away, and there's the phones just ringing off the hook, that's probably a good time to go get a leaf vac. But I see too many people getting plows and leaf vacs and core aerator stand-ons way too far in advance and they're being used for maybe 3 hours a week for 2 months of the year. And they have a 2-year-old leaf vac that's been used for 20 hours and that's all it's been used.
Yeah.
Like that's insanity. So just make sure you're at capacity, whether that be with or without an employee, prior to jumping in too soon on a leaf vac.
Okay. So with getting an employee, you do think I should wait till about 80, 95 clients?
No, you're going to need one right away because at 50, you're already at capacity almost for one person. You're going to need that one person, but that one person will allow you to get to 80, 90 customers.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Mike.
You got it, brother. Take care. Next caller is coming from area code 815. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. 815. Sorry, you've been waiting for 23 minutes. I apologize. It says it's from DeKalb, Illinois. Area code 815-217. Oh, we're going to lose the call. I'm sorry.
How you doing?
There it is. Let's go. Sorry, were you on mute?
No, yeah, I'm sorry. So I have a question. So I'm pretty young. I'm just starting my business out and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to figure out, like, with all the electric stuff and people are like starting to convert to electric.
Mm-hmm.
I already bought my gas zero turn and stuff. So I was just wondering when if I should keep doing the business or what I should be doing.
Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about electric versus gas. It's inconsequential. You could change tomorrow. This is another decision that's been thrown in the mix for everyone that's getting started or is new in their business. And that's try to do gas or electric. It's like flip a coin, get started, let's go. It just does not matter. A business is not determined by the tools that you use. It is determined by the customers you have. Focus on the customers. Whether or not the tools you use are electric or gas is inconsequential to the valuation of your company and whether or not it generates profit. You could go in a 100 different directions as to what type of equipment you should use based upon your climate, based upon how much you bag, all the rest of it. You could go into that debate, but honestly, just get started. You've got enough customers. If you got a few hundred customers, you could just go out for tomorrow and go buy a different mower if you really thought it was that big of a deal.
Mhm.
But it is not what makes a business. The type of tools you use do not make a great business. It is what you create with those tools, and it is the customers that you have. If you were to go sell your business tomorrow, they do not care if you're electric or gas. They care how many customers do you have, what are your revenues, what are your profit margins, what's your overhead, what percentage of your customers are churning every year, your attrition rate. These are the type of things that you got to focus on, not what type of tools you use. So just stick with what you got.
All right.
Stick with the customers. Stick with the gas mowers that you got, and just keep getting more customers. Do not worry about the type of tool. That is a massive marketing play, and is another way for this industry to lose money, in my opinion.
All right, and I have one more question. So I have about 15 weekly customers right now. I'm only 15, but I have about 15 weekly customers, and I want to bump it up to about 30 by next year. I know other companies start advertising early in the beginning of the years. Should I start doing it before the next year so I can try and get people before they start signing up for other companies?
Yes.
And then what marketing strategy should I be doing?
So list all your different marketing strategies, right? And then list them from the most expensive to the cheapest ones. Cheapest ones are going to be things like you just posting on your own Facebook page, you asking for people's online reviews, you posting up flyers, you doing door hangers, you knocking on people's doors. Then it goes like, okay, Facebook ads, Google ads, these are more expensive things. Creating a website, all these things are much more expensive. What you want to do is keep doing the free things as much as possible all the time. Then what's going to happen is you're start randomly getting all these calls as we head into spring rush, and it's going to pick up organically just because the timing, the season, and the weather is going to be changing. And when you start feeling that natural organic start pooling, like the demand increasing, that's when you want to start spending money. Because when demand is high, your customer acquisition cost is low. And so you want to be spending money when your customer acquisition cost is low, and that's going to be when demand is high. That's going to be during the spring rush. So just keep doing the free activities, knocking on people's doors, putting out door hangers, going on social media and asking people to post, or going into Facebook groups. All those things are free. Keep doing that, and then you'll see this like in 1 week. The weather will change. Everything will take off. You start getting calls in all the time. And that's the moment that you start spending money because your customer acquisition cost is lowest.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
You got it, brother. Take care. Next caller's been waiting for 24 minutes from, it says Pensacola, Florida. Area code 850. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. Sorry for waiting so long.
No, it's all right. How are you today?
Good. What's up?
So I got 3 questions for you. I wrote down some notes because I've been listening to the calls. So I started my business in 2018. It's a lawn care. I closed after Hurricane Sally, if you remember hearing about it, here in Pensacola. I opened again 2 months ago. As of right now, according to different websites, I'm rated top 5 in my area. I'm at 56 total services, 23 clients. They're all on contract until the end of the year. My average property is around $65. All of my clients are on auto billing. I have no monthly properties just because I found it wasn't worth it. Except in the winter, everybody goes down to monthly just because I guess that's the area here. I have 2, I guess you'd say, quote unquote contractors. I have 1 full time and then 1 part time that only works 1 day a week. Yesterday, and I'm not as big as these other companies, so when I'm hearing like the 100,000 or whatever, I'm like, holy cow. But my profit 1 day yesterday, I made 274. That's after employees and everything. So I am paying for leads right now, but my phone rings off the hook like 24/7. I just had to buy another phone because I was tired of my personal phone blowing up. I just got custom T-shirts and hats. Other than that, I'm not really doing any advertising. I was until my phone was blowing up off the hook. Here's the part you're gonna kill me for this part. So right now we only have 2 self-propelled mowers, Toro 22-inch. I just ordered a 0-turn, but I'm still 20 days out. I also work a full-time job. I currently upsell with fertilizer and pressure washing. So I guess my question to you is, am I too busy? I'm at 5 to 6 a day, 3 to 4 days a week. Where do I go now? And I don't advertise anymore. Should I be?
Do you want to go full time?
Yeah. So I was trying to kind of figure out when, because I planned for my birthday, which is March 30th. That was gonna be my birthday present to myself, but
It's like birthday
I
present
also just
myself.
got
More
promoted and
stress. Let's
stuff.
go. I'm just
So,
joking.
well, exactly. I just got promoted in my job. I run 2 phone stores, and I've only been with the company for a month and a half.
Mhm.
So I don't really want to leave them, but also I want to be my own boss.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah. When do all your contracts end at the end of the year for mowing?
yes, yes.
Yeah. So what I would recommend doing is if you have 25 or so that you got to redo at the end of the year, try to up them all
hmm
in terms of price to the point
hmm
where it makes no sense to keep your other job. And so if that
Okay.
means, raising them all 20%, I'd just do it. I think you'll lose
hmm
less than 5 of them, but you'll literally double your profit.
hmm
And that alone will make more sense for you to get out of your job. You got to make it where it's like, it's a dumb decision not to leave your job
hmm
if that's the goal.
hmm Yeah. And so right now, like I said, my phone's, I don't know if I told you. Right now, according to different websites, I'm rated top 5 lawn care provider in the area.
Mhm.
And I'm not even on Google Business yet.
Mhm.
So is that bad?
Well, it's not bad. It's good for growth. I think the next thing what's gonna happen is you're going to go full time, and you're gonna have the capacity to probably triple the business just because you'll have more time in your hands. And so right now, it seems like the phone is ringing off the hook. But when you have 3 times the amount of capacity because you have the time, you don't have your full time job, you're gonna need every single one of those calls. So it's definitely not a
Exactly.
bad thing. You're going to be looking at getting a website next spring so you can keep that rush of leads coming in because you're going to need them. 23 customers
hmm
is not going to sustain a family, so you're going to have to get more customers anyways. So it's not a bad thing. I'm going to look at definitely not that. I'd be actually bolstering that as much as possible, even if you have to turn off your new, if you can't take new customers for the next few months. I'd be focusing on how do you increase lead flow right now, not from paying. Like that's the
hmm
last thing you would be doing. I'm glad you turned that off. But like now it's a matter of getting on Google My Business or Google listing now.
hmm
Getting a website, even if it's rudimentary right now, getting a website because you need all those leads to keep coming in, and next spring for there to be a massive rush of customers and for you to make that jump next spring, increasing your prices when you do the contract turnover is going to be the determining factor of whether or not you have the confidence to do it financially.
I got you. So I mean, yeah, that's my thing now. Is I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but I don't know what. You know, because when I talk to different business owners, I'm friends with multiple business owners, and they're like, "Hey, that's great. You're doing good." But because in my area, I guess, just according to the research I've done and stuff like that, the average company in their first year only has 10 clients. So I'm double that.
Yeah, but who cares?
And
The
so
average.
I just
You're
did.
not going for average.
Well,
The
exactly.
average business goes out of business within a year or two. So don't ever compare yourself against average or average pricing or whatever else
hmm
everyone else is doing. Figure out what you need to be able to quit your other job if that's the goal, and then optimize that. Don't care about average. The average business goes out of business within a year or two. So don't compare yourself against that.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself with other business owners. 5 out of the 10 of them that you talk to will go out of business the next 24 months. So like, don't worry about that. Focus on what you want out of the business.
hmm
Focus on what you're able to charge your customers and what your pricing is going to be, because the average
hmm
anything doesn't do very well.
So, right now, according to like when I'll go do an estimate, I'm like the highest company that these people talk to in price.
Good.
But with me, I've been in sales my whole life, so for me, I build value.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's been jobs multiple times where somebody wouldn't hire me, and then they call me right after the company comes and services it, and they're like, "Yeah, I want you instead."
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's not a matter of I can't get the work, because I can get the work all day long. I mean, I could probably make 4 or 5 phone calls from leads right now, and I'd have the work.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess do I need to focus more on like client growth, or because right now, I mean, we can do an acre in an hour and a half. That's fully serviced, weed eated, edged, everything,
Mm-hmm.
edges. Um, So am I to the point pretty much where I'm full right now, but when I get to zero turn in 20 days, I can keep taking on more work? Or
Don't overemphasize what a zero turn is going to do for your business. If you're at capacity right now and you cannot take on more work and you're getting more leads coming in, like if you can call right now and get 4 or 5 more customers, you should, and you should jack their price up 30% more. So there is no question as to what you should do when you fill capacity. You raise prices if you're not going to continue growing. And so the big unlock for you is going to be going full time. When you know, at Landscape Business Course, we talk about, you know, the different, pivots, the different times when your business really will start to grow. The first one is when you go full time. So when you go full time, that's going to unlock massive amounts of capacity. Right now, you're at capacity. Getting a mower, getting a zero turn might unlock a little bit more, but it's not going to solve the problem. It's just not. And so I would consider yourself at capacity. And at that stage, you either continue to grow or you raise prices. And in my opinion, I would be raising prices until you quit your job. And so that way you can maximize your profitability, stack cash, and then next spring accelerate when you switch, when you go full time. That's going to be the kicker. That's will triple your business within a matter of 2 months as you going full time into the business.
So obviously my clients that are on contract now, at end of contract, how would I go about wording them? Hey, I know you've been loyal to me, but I got to raise the prices. Do I just say that? Like,
yeah, we appreciate you being a customer. Due to the inflation and the increased cost of doing business, next year, starting next month, your price is going to be X amount per month. Let us know if you have any questions. That's it.
Okay. And I mean, I am one of those people, like if they're, if I raise them, for example, $5 and they want to cancel me, I didn't need them in the first place. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm at the point now where I can pick and choose what work I would take on, which I think that's what a lot of people realize too when they're starting out, is that they're like, well, I want this client, this client, this client. You just can't be that way, So I mean, now if you don't even, if you were to call me, right, and you didn't want to put a card on file, I just pass you up, right? Like, it's not worth it for me to fight to get paid.
Yeah. So don't worry if you lose a few customers when you raise the price. Just stick to it. You're going to charge. And if you lose 3 people, you just told me you go get 4 or 5 right now if you had the time, right? So don't worry about that. I can guarantee you, though, you're going to lose a whole lot less than you think, especially if you've been doing a good job. So I wouldn't be concerned about that at all. At capacity, it is not rocket science. It's always amazing to me how people like, what should I do? It's like you either raise prices or you grow. And if you can't grow, you need to raise prices. It's like the most basic math in the world. So just make sure you just raise those prices significantly.
No, I raise my prices. Every 10 clients I get, I raise my prices because I can't afford to, but I was thinking, is that not a good mentality to have every 10 clients, or should it just be, or should it not be a number?
It shouldn't be a number. It should just be when you hit capacity, right? So when you're like, I need to hire or I need to buy more equipment, that's why I would raise your prices before you go get a zero turn. Because what you're doing essentially by getting the zero turn is you're absorbing the cost of the extra equipment, and you're keeping your prices the same to the customer. I would rather you raise your prices to the customer. They pay for the zero turn in the form of higher pricing. So, just don't get into that treadmill of buying bigger equipment, bigger trucks, bigger trailer, whatever, to be able to do more capacity, when what you should do is raise prices so the customers you do get are a much more higher profit.
I got you. Alrighty. Well, I appreciate you.
My pleasure, brother. You have a good one.
Let you go here. I know you got more. You too. All right.
Take it. Bye-bye. Next caller is from 646. Been waiting quite a while. I apologize. It says Bronx, New York. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking the call. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yep. Sounds good.
So my question is about growth. And this year, I started in May, and I have about 50 customers at the moment. And this is going to throw some red flags for you, but just imagine capacity and labor. We just talked about that. Those things are not a problem. I would like to grow as much as possible going into next year. So first question is the spring rush. I think I missed that this year. And what do you see out there in terms of how many customers come in, I repeat, mowing customers come in on the spring rush versus the rest of the year? And again, just putting aside any capacity constraints, if you could grow as fast as possible going into 2023, what would be your top 1 or 2 strategies?
Yeah. So assuming that I do not have a cash issue. I have plenty of cash. I'm just trying to grow. I don't care about profitability. I'm just trying to simply grow the business. I'd be making sure that all of the organic methods of getting leads are in place throughout the winter. So websites up and ranking with a ton of Google reviews. I have all my social media ready to roll. I literally have all my posts scheduled for the spring rush when I should be focused on closing. I'm not focusing on what post I should be putting up. I'd be getting all of that in order. I'd be making sure that I also can create relationships with people like property managers and other people that can put me in, like contractors that can put me in a whole bunch of work. I'd be doing all of that during the winter when you don't have natural demand. Then when the natural demand comes along, I'd be throwing every single dollar I can towards marketing. And I'd be making sure that I'm doing it at the time when it is like usually about 2 to 3 weeks before mowing starts till 2 months into spring rush. That is your golden opportunity typically when your demand is at its all-time high, therefore your customer acquisition cost is its all-time low, and I'd be spending every single dollar I can during that time, and I'd have it all planned out. I have those 6 to 8 weeks that I know I'm going to be marketing. I'm going to be scheduled it. I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to be the first week door hangers, second week every door direct mail campaign, third week Facebook yard signs and Google ads, fourth week like I just schedule every single thing out, and I don't care about predicting the number of customers because the capacity thing is not your problem. So if you have the capital, I'd just be creating a schedule for that spring rush and then sticking religiously to it, knowing that the biggest variable to that and allowing you to continue growing past 100, 300, whatever customers you're trying to get is going to be the wild card of hiring. And if you're able to actually find those people at the right time. Now, if you have plenty of capital, you'd probably actually hire them sooner than you actually need them. And you would probably just try to sell some project-based work to keep them busy until your recurring work catches up with you in the spring rush. So in that 8-week window, you might actually hire people in weeks 1, 2, and 3, even though you won't need them till week 6, 7, or 8. But what you're going to do is sell some projects to keep them busy so that when week 8 comes along, you can plug them into recurring work and they can keep going. So that's what I'd be doing. And that's what you can do if capital is not an issue, because that's going to be a very expensive way to grow, but it's also the fastest way to grow.
That's a great answer. Thanks, Mike. And I think just a little small follow-on that is, how do you think about somebody who's going from one city to 2 cities? Because, this year, I have a small customer count, but I found like there was a natural speed to how quickly you could acquire customers, even if you're spending a lot of money on online advertising and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, to de-risk it for next year, I'm trying to think about, there's a city that's 1 hour south, much bigger metropolis. Like, should I go down there or not? How do you think about that in terms of growth, like going from 1 city to 2 cities?
Yeah, the least profitable ways to grow is geographical expansion, like what you're talking about, or increasing the number of services that you offer. An hour south is out of the question if you have 50 customers. The only way I would say expand south if you're doing $1 million business and you're considering going in a larger area. We moved about 15 to 20 minutes south when we were already over $1 million in revenue in a little town that had less than 6,000 people. So that is not the method I would approach it from. And I know it feels like there's a natural cadence, but it's also due to the fact that this is your second spring rush you're going into. And that's typically when you get the most natural demand in behind your marketing. So you're going to have a massive push this spring rush. And if you stay in your current location, you'll be plenty maxed out with leads. I would definitely not recommend moving an hour away. That's a very long ways away.
Makes sense. Thank you for this awesome advice, Mike. Love the show.
Take care, brother. Take care. All right. Next caller is from 678. It says his name is Martin, but probably wrong. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. Hello, hello, hello. 678 area code. Oh, we're scrambling for the cell phone.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Good, good. What can I help you with, brother?
Yeah, so just to kind of give you a little backstory on my company, I'm going through my this was my 3rd year basically. I started by myself. Right now I just turned 27. I started when I was 23. Thankfully, it's been roller coasters. So thankfully everything's been good. When I was 22, I purchased my home, and I just refinanced my home not too long ago. Thankfully, I got a good chunk of money out, and I reinvested in my company. So I bought a second truck.
as well as a little bit of equipment. And my company is hopefully makes about 250, 200. Right now I'm already at 140, and I still got good months, and I got good projects coming up ahead, so I should pretty much be over the 200K mark. And it's just me, another full-time worker, and a part-time worker. So I'm coming to the point where I feel like I'm not really efficient, I guess you can say, because sometimes, like right now, I'm not really making too much money because, like I said, I've invested a lot back into my company. So I just bought a truck. I bought the rank rack on the truck. I just reinvested, which I don't really see like too much of a bad thing because thankfully money is not too much of an issue since I've been saving up, and I don't really live in high demand. I'm really budget on my money, my personal side. So I just reinvested in my company, but I'm just not sure where do I take it from here as far as kind of scaling it, because with clients, I'm pretty much already booked up with 60 clients, but in those 60, I have commercial properties, which, it takes more than me and two other workers to do in one day. And the other days, I just kind of do regular lawn maintenance. And, on the weekends, that's when I typically do my projects, mulch, pine straw, or cleanup. And I kind of just got everything nice and scheduled. And then, I just ran the numbers for the first 6 months, and I pretty much got like a net profit of like 20 something K. But like I said, I kind of reinvested a lot of that money back into the company. So I just want to make sure that I did the right move, and going forward, how should I take it going forward?
Yeah, like honestly, in 4 years to grow your size, you're not in hyper growth. You're not pouring money back into the business in terms of like losing cash, right? Like the rate at which you're growing is not slow, but it's not like you're tripling every single year, right? So I don't think it's a good thing to buy into this notion. And it's very, very common in our industry. And that's like, oh, I'm investing all the profits back into the business. Like, look, if you're growing over the course of 4 years of 200,000, you're not like pouring money back into the business. And so what I would recommend doing is really locking in and focusing on the actual reason why we get into business, and that is creating a profit. And so 4 years in, you got to start thinking about profitability. You can no longer use this like, oh, I'm new, I'm growing 50, 60% every single year. I grew from 100 to 300 to 800. Like that, during that period of hyper growth, it's okay to be unprofitable. You're putting money back into a business and the assets going up. But at your size, I'd be really, really taking a year and trying to raise your prices and making it really profitable, because then you have options. With that higher profit margin, you can go grow, because now you have capital to expand, you have capital to grow, you have capital to buy more equipment, you have capital to go do marketing. And so I would highly recommend, if you're at your stage and you're at 10% profit margin, you're 4 years in, I would take a year, maybe only go to 250 or 260 next year, but now you're going to stack away 70, 80 grand inside of your pocket because you raised your prices. So what are you charging per hour right now?
So as far as lawn maintenance, we probably like at 120
for
lawn
2
maintenance,
people.
but if we do a cleanup, yes. And sometimes if I bring a third one, because some days, like I said, I do commercials, so I bring 3 people and then I do the commercial.
And you're charging 120 regardless?
For that, so for that one, we are like 140. Yes. Yeah, about 140. So when I bring 3 people per day, I'm pretty much making about average between $750 to $900 on lawn maintenance per day.
Yeah, but the problem is if you have 3 people and you're charging 140, it means you're making like $46, $47 per man hour. Like the per man hour is what you want to measure, not how much you're charging for the crew. And so 46 is extremely cheap, like extreme. You got to get that above 60. Like you got to get that above 60. And so like I would highly recommend, instead of trying to focus on growth right now, I would really be, because you just don't have the finances for it. Like I would be really focused on how do I take a 10% profit margin business, which is what you're currently at, and make it a 25 to 30% profit margin business, because you can do that at 200,000 in annual revenue. And to do that, you're gonna have to raise your prices. And if you're busy, you got lots of leads coming in, it should be no no problem to go raise your prices to your customers. But I would highly, highly recommend trying to get a $70 to $80 an hour, like very much so. And if you lose a few
Correct.
customers, that's fine.
Yeah. So I just raised prices on my and pretty much on all my homes. So biweekly, if they want a biweekly service, right now we're charging about $70 each lawn maintenance. Obviously, weekly, we pretty much are almost the same thing with some customers. So my goal was this year to just kind of reinvest back on my company, and next year just kind of work pretty hard and efficiently, and just kind of save up money, and then hopefully, next year or two, I would like to buy another property. That's kind of my goal. And yeah, so this year I kind of I went a little bit back when I kind of reinvested in my company.
What's investing in your company? What does that mean to you?
So basically, whenever what I think is just like for instance, I just bought a truck, and then I bought some equipment. I bought the ram rack, which is a little pricey, close to a couple thousands. Just
What'd you do in revenue? What'd you do in revenue in 2021? What was your gross revenue?
Last year we would so revenue we did about 160. Out of the 160, I kept about I think 70 to 80,000 out of the 160 from last year. So this year I'm projecting to make about 240, give or take 230. And obviously this year I'm not really keeping it much, and I'm throwing back to the company, if that makes sense. Which is okay, like I said, thankfully I'm not really, money's there saved up. So I know we're going through the slow days, but I think I still have pretty good months. I still got projects lined up. I'm doing decent. Obviously I'm not a millionaire or nothing like that, but thankfully I can get by with my bills until next year, pretty comfortable, I would say, and start the season back over. So that's my goal for next season. Just kind of focus really hard, save money, and just start bringing in money. And hopefully towards the end of next year or somewhere around that ballpark, we try to get another house and kind of just go like that. Because this year, like I said, I did dump a lot of money. I just want to make sure that was a little bit better choice of me, or should I just saved it? But it's just I was kind of to the capacity, and I just wanted to get more a work truck for the workers, and that way I can kind of just slide and get off the field and just kind of manage things more and go that side of the route.
Totally, man. Well, good luck to you, man. Yeah, I think with 2 trucks you'll have the capacity. It's really just about making sure you're profitable in that meantime, and ensuring that you have that that margin to be able to get through that. So best of luck to you, though.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, sir.
You got, brother. Take care. All right, last caller is coming from 208. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much. Appreciate you coming on.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, hey. You can hear me now. So Mike, you were my inspiration to buy this company. I started watching your videos, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's such a good scheme, taking your small business and franchise it. And I appreciate all the advices and everything that you have throughout the days. But so because of that, I bought my company. I bought it back in April, and it was a baby boomer. He was getting ready to retire. He was like, "Yes, I'm ready to retire." This company that I've built for 16 plus years, and the way that he had it structured was that somehow he was reporting some of the money into taxes and some of the money no, because it was more like cash. And it was like those customers that he had were friends of friends, really close. It was total of 25, 26 customers. And he was just doing it by himself. He had from lawn care to sprinkler repair and snow removal. Here in Idaho, because I'm from Idaho, we have just from April all the way to late September, October, and then it becomes a snow removal season. So anyway, so I purchased this. It's owner finance, so I didn't have to go to the banks and ask for SBA loan. It worked out good, but the financials were not there, and that's kind of like something sketchy for me at first. And I was like, okay, I need to know more about the company and stuff. So he took me around, met the customers, and it felt good at first. But now, where I am, I have a full-time job. Um, I got this company, and I think my time is just, I don't have any time left to do anything, either grow or get more profit or anything like that. So my vision was just to hire somebody, but that somebody, I'm having a hard time to hire, whether it's a very helper off the street, just to help me get caught up during the week, because I do this during the week and mornings and stuff. And then I go in the evening to my other job, and it's so hard for me to find people that are reliable and that wanted to grow with me as a company as well. So I don't know. We're heading towards the snow removal, and I got bigger contracts on that, and it's per snowfall. What is your recommendation of how to hire somebody, how to advertise that, whether it's per snowfall, whether it's 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, we got to get out there and start shoveling snow.
Can you use sick days at your job? Can you use
that.
sick days at your job? If it starts snowing at 3 a.m., can you call out sick?
Yeah, I could, but I don't get as many. What if it snows twice a day?
Mm-hmm.
I have to go. If it's greater than
how
2
much
inches,
in revenue do you expect to
and
get from snow
shovel it.
plowing? How much revenue, like if you have a good snow season, how much do you expect to get?
It's my first year, so I have no idea.
Okay, how much did you make in total revenue this year so far?
I'm looking at 26,000.
Okay. Okay, so this is something you got to do without an employee, in my mind. You don't have enough profit or revenue or margins to make it work with an employee. I don't think hiring is the issue, to be honest with you. It's if hiring is the issue, it means your pricing is too low, because that much revenue can be done evenings, weekends, etc. What you're running into is a scheduling issue for snow, which means like you have to drop stuff and get it done. And that's when subcontracting might be the best option for you. And that is, if you're in a bind and you can't get the snow plowing done, you have someone that you call or someone that you fall back on that is a subcontractor, is going to make a percentage of the revenue or a cut, or you pay them per hour and they get the job done. But you don't have, in my opinion, enough revenue to go get an employee. Just setting them up legally, getting everything in terms of liability. Your liability insurance will go through the roof for snow plowing if you get an employee. And so I don't believe this is an employee issue. This is a matter of finding a subcontractor and then trying to maximize the time that you can be on the job and be flexible as possible with your current job, whether it be calling out sick, whether it be talking to your employer and just like, hey, there might be times during the next few months I have to call out. Can I get some sort of leeway around this so I can keep this job because I want to keep it, and kind of put out there the threat that you might leave if you can't? That's really the goal, in my opinion. It's not finding an employee. At your size, you're not trying to find an employee.
Okay. Yeah. And the hard part is that it's per snowfall, so it's not like predicted, okay, I know that it's going to fall 2 weeks out of the month. What if it doesn't? So then the employee or me, I don't get paid for those 2 weeks, but still bills are going to come in and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
find a
it's going to be a money
subcontractor
type issue.
at this size, and what you're talking about in terms of the scheduling being the issue. A subcontractor is going to be your go-to here. You just simply don't have enough revenue or the predictability of the schedule when it comes to snow. Like, you don't have work for an employee to do if it's not snowing, right? So no employee is going to sign up with you with the hope that they're going to get work every couple weeks, right? So I would highly recommend the subcontractor route. Look for other contractors doing snow plowing. Just be open and honest with them. Like, hey, here's what I'm paying. I'm willing to give you X amount, either per hour or per push or however you want to do that. But that's going to be the best route for you. And leaning on contractors is a whole lot more dependable than leaning on an employee that's used every couple weeks.
Right. What would be your recommendation for getting somebody in a contract? Because I think I already got too much in my plate, but not alone. I was just
call other contractors that are advertising for snowplow and be like, hey, I'm looking for a subcontractor. I can't get all my jobs done. Are you interested? What do you charge per hour? Right. So I would just, if they're advertising for snow, it means they have capacity. And so I'd be calling them and just saying, hey, are you willing to take a subcontracting? Are you willing? What's your hourly rate? And just going from there.
I see. Okay.
Best of luck to you, brother.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Absolutely. You have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. I apologize for everyone in the queue, but I have to run. It's been almost an hour and a half. So thank you all so much. Happy Labor Day. And check out MikeAndes.com. Check out all the fun stuff. P4P software is getting a facelift this month. It's been improving in terms of the design. And so I really appreciate all of you hopping on here, though. Have a fantastic rest of your Labor Day, and we'll see you tomorrow on the vlog. Tomorrow morning, the vlog comes out. I've got some really cool stuff this week coming out. I only know because we're like a week ahead on the vlog, but there's some really cool stuff coming out, including an interview with Jonathan Potoshnik, co-founder of Service Autopilot. He's returning back out of retirement. The original lawn care millionaire is coming back on the show. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait for it.